Welcome to Recruiting is No Joke. I am your host, Joel Lalji, the realist recruiter. I've got the neon sign and everything, so it's very official. I am super excited today to have a guest who has, I'm pretty sure you on my podcast in the past, maybe my old podcast. So big return here. We have Lysha Holmes in the house from the UK, from Qui Recruitment. So Lysha, welcome to the show. And why don't you give everybody a quick intro, who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into the action for this week.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And yes, I'm recording this with you while it's a lovely rainy day in July in North Manchester, which is the stereotypical what everyone expects. And it's true, although it's warm. But there you go. We actually met in 2020, 2021, and I think you came on my podcast.
Yes.
Which is the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. And I've been in the recruitment industry since 1998. I am one of the old school recruiters that you hear about. However, I like to think that I've got traditional values, but combining it with modern methods and mindset. I launched my own business, Qui Recruitment, in 2005, which is nearly 20 years ago.
Wow.
Due to me feeling that there wasn't enough flexibility for working parents. So I've been a massive champion of flexibility in working parents since. But also, and this is what I'm sure we'll come on to talk about, I don't actually operate in the same way that the other rec-to-recs do, because I go to market with the candidate. I reverse search. So we are 100% inbound. We don't do any headhunting or outreach, which is the exact opposite to what I think the rest of the market's doing. And I launched my podcast, as I just mentioned, back in COVID. It was an accident, and we've just finished recording season 4. And we've had over 300 odd episodes, which is just brilliant, from people all across the globe, including you.
I love it. And just so everyone out there who maybe isn't as familiar with the recruitment space, rec to rec, why don't you give us the...
it's funny, actually. Sometimes on subtitles, it's rectal. No, it was rectal. So rec to rec is a really naff abbreviation for, recruitment to recruitment. So I recruit for the recruitment industry. So predominantly it is fee-earning recruitment agencies of all levels. We do some in-house and TA, but I'm sure it's the same over there as it has been over here. It's been an abomination. All the green banners have mainly been people, sadly, from TA and in-house roles. But traditionally we would support in-house as well. But since about 2022, it's been solely fee-earning into recruitment agencies. And I know that rec-to-rec is not a phenomenon that's just solely in the UK. I think it's quite massive over there as well, isn't it, Joel?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely some rec-to-recs over here that I know. But like you say, right now, even agencies, if you're a recruiter in a recruitment agency or you're internal, it is tough. And we were even just chatting before we went live. The market in the US, it's tough. If you want to be successful as a recruiter now, I would say relationships are key. Knowing how to build relationships, knowing how to start new relationships. I think you've got to be good on social to generate your own leads. I think you've got to get creative. I think you got to go out and meet people. It's definitely not a market that I think everybody can be successful in. Well, I think everybody can be successful, but the caveat to that is I think you just have to put in the hard work with business development right now, which I think for a lot of people isn't the sweet spot. Which kind of even brings me to my first topic, funnily enough. Actually is a nice segue in. I saw a post on LinkedIn just today. I think I actually saw it because you commented on it, funnily enough. But I want to get your take on this. So I'm going to share. Let's see. Hopefully I can get this to work. Oh, yeah. We are getting this to work. And this was a post. Let's see. Yes, it is. All right. So you can see this post from Max Learmonth. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah, Max Learmonth of Forge Talent. He's a really good friend of mine.
Forge Talent. All right. Well, exactly. And I think if I look down here, look at that. There you are. So you like this one. And if any of you guys are new to this style of the podcast, basically what we're doing is we're looking at things that are trending, things that I'm seeing on social media, and then we are reacting to it. So if anyone who is listening, I pulled out a post from Max Learmonth, who's founder and CEO of Forge Talent and Lysha's friend. So that's
client. I've
client.
Yeah, my client, I've recently recruited for his business, actually. He's a year old. He just celebrated 1 year in, I think, May 2024.
What a legend.
So, yeah, I recently placed a senior manager with him.
So we're not going to trash him. Luckily, we're not going to trash him.
Well, no, he won't mind if I'm, we like
No, I love the post, because if you guys looked at, if you were there for about 2 episodes ago, we had a couple of recruitment legends on the show, and they were saying the same thing. And I wanted to get your take on it, because obviously you're recruiting recruiters, and you are interviewing recruiters all the time. And it just says recruiters that become terrified of the phone. Why? Cold call anxiety, and here's how you get over it. Plan and prepare the night before. Have a purpose and know why you're calling. Know who and what you're selling. Give value add in the time you have. Given the opportunity, ask questions. Identify pain, provide solution. Don't be sleazy and pushy. Ask for a face-to-face. Be confident. Have fun with it. What's the worst that can happen? You might get hung up on. Roll with it. So we were chatting before for the show again. You said a lot of your business you get is inbound. So maybe for you, it's not even. It doesn't even come up. You get business inbound.
Well, I did the hard graft at the start of my career, and I do think it's really important for people who may be quite new to the industry to recognise that this was how we did business before you created content and you used social media to form part of your business development strategy. And I think it's really important that Max and people like Max talk about the phone aspect, because I think that art has been lost a little bit, because people think they can stick a post on, it'll go viral, and they'll get loads of business in. And that is not the case at all. I think I say something like, you have to make your phone ring. I think I possibly swear as well. I think I've only ever been told to F off once in 26 years. And I still remember that call. And I actually did cry, but it's also because I was pregnant and I had hormones raging through my body. But he was really unkind. He was very unpleasant. And I was actually doing a check-in, believe it or not. But it was a new contact. I'd placed with the business a couple of years before, and he was just really rude to me. So that, to me, that's the worst that can happen. I think it's important to pick up on what Matt is saying, because it's defining what does this actually mean. I think if you're listening to this and you're working for a business that has not got a purpose to you ringing clients cold or warm or hot, whatever you want to say, then I think it's fair enough to have anxiety, because it's like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Yeah. And when I was trained back in the day, and I still use this sentence because I coach people, the reason for your call is XXX. Now, if you can't articulate that really simple line opener, then actually you don't have any of the things that you just listed there that Max talks about. You need to have a purpose. And actually, in the age of information, there is no excuse to not have a reason to call a cold client. It could be they've just won an award. It could be that they've launched a new product. It could be that they've hired somebody that you maybe had interviewed as a candidate before. And that should be the reason for my call is this. And it has to be a hook. And I think so often when I interview a lot of recruiters who, you just mentioned before this, it's almost fear that's created from, we're in a very challenging market. But the reality is this right now is recruitment. This is what recruitment is. The last 3 years have not been real. So I think it's understanding that to be successful and create your own business, which is what your desk should be, you have to always think proactively. You can't just sit on legacy relationships. You can't just assume that house accounts will keep creating revenue for you. And nor should you want it to. I think if you are going to endure in what is a meritocracy, that is what recruitment is, then you should want to always strive to improve your efficiency, your productivity, your profits, your revenue. And the only way to do that is to constantly think about the strategy. Where can I get more business from? And to me, think about it as a consumer, right? When you get a cold call on your phone, it could be somebody ringing up to sell you a new telecom product, or I don't know, to sell you a new gym membership. The calls that you engage with, the calls that you remember, are those that get to the point really quickly and have a reason for the call. And then I want to pick up on Max's other point, they're going to solve a problem straight away. So bringing it back into recruitment, the reason for my call today is that I've noticed that you have recently lost somebody. I've noticed that they've moved on LinkedIn. I actually have a candidate potentially I can talk to you about. What's been the methods that you've done to try and find somebody for this role? Because time is of the essence. that one sentence took 10 seconds. But straight away, that decision maker is going to go, what can you do for me? If anybody's doing a call like that and the person on the other end can say, well, so what? Then you haven't achieved that hook. So think to yourself, what can I say in that one line of a hook? And you could use that sentence 10 times in a day, but it's doing that research. And I think, and then I make the point a little bit further down in my reply, which is, the job is about being on the phone. And if you
there you are.
have been
this is exactly what you said. You said, what's the worst that can happen? Someone tells you to F off. In 25 and a half years, I've only had that once. Effing pick up the phone. I wouldn't ring itself, make a ring. No, it's all good.
True.
Look, here's why do you think, I guess, in terms of like the evolution you've seen with this dealing with recruiters, like when did you kind of start to see this kind of shift? Because I feel like ever since I've been in recruitment, there's always been like, hey, pick up the phone. But like, when did you start to kind of see the shift around just being afraid of?
Has anyone listening got teenagers? There's a thing called Snapchat. And that's how, but seriously, that is how Generation Z, it is how Generation Z communicate. They don't really pick up the phone.
And that's Generation Z, just for the US listeners.
Sorry. Yeah,
Gen Z.
Very English. Gen Z, honey. I'll try not to do my Anglo-American accent because I'll just embarrass myself.
You definitely should do that.
I'm surprised you're not dropping into Blackpool, actually. Do people know that about you, Joel?
They do. They do know that.
They do. Occasionally I hear the twang.
I know. And then people are like, are you from the East Coast? I'm like, no, I'm from the UK. But I'm
going from the West Coast of England.
from a lovely, beautiful town. Well, why do you think? I guess when did you start? So you started to see it when social media came in.
Well, I mean, joking aside, I've seen it plenty of times in my past as a manager, not as Qui Recruitment, but in my previous guys when I used to run companies for other people. And people wouldn't pick up the phone even then. They'd just literally sit there and stare at the phone like we're talking pre-mobile. They'd stare at the phone and you think, just pick up the phone.
Seriously.
So, but I think generationally, we have to accept as recruitment leaders and as colleagues that there are going to be, as we think about new talent coming through, that is not the life, that is not how they communicate. So I think it's really important when we're thinking about future-proofing our businesses and our desks and our industry, we have to demystify what it actually means to pick up the phone. And that comes down to training, coaching, development, and losing this. And I understand why Max is very good at writing hooks, by the way. He doesn't literally mean cold call like a yellow pages. Like I had to literally yellow pages.
Well, we're
talking about strategy.
And before, LinkedIn, before Indeed, before you had the job boards, because a lot of people ask me like, well, what would, why would people like use recruiters? That's what I'm saying. And well, before the information was out there of like what jobs were open, recruiters were the gateway for that. Like literally you'd be like, hey, who's hiring? Because you couldn't just go and look that up. And I think, recruiters have kind of lost that. But I get it's like, it's calling people you don't know. You should be creating some awareness on social. I think a big piece is this value add, because I think the more value you're able to add to people, and the more you believe in that, the better you're going to do. And I would say even for like job seekers who are looking for jobs, a big issue.
Really?
Do you know what value you're going to add to a
value
business?
And insight.
Insights.
I think it's, when you're thinking about I don't know who your audience are, whether I presume it's leaders and it's recruiters day to day. Think about that. It is a really good point that Max makes, which I will just go back to, which is you are going to solve a problem for somebody that maybe doesn't even know they've got a problem, right? But I think if you're saying, I'm actually calling you today because we've recently done a salary survey as a business. We've recently done some research into talent pooling in your area, whatever it might be. We've recently done some research into, compensation packages, benefits packages. We're sending this out for free. Who's the best person to send it to? It's not me. Sorry. Who else is going to do that? That's actually your cold call. That's your outreach.
I love that.
Wow. That client's going to go, oh, they've not tried to ring up and ask me for a job. Like, what job am I recruiting for? Or, cold calling includes headhunting, by the way, can I just say? So I think I think we need to all reframe how we communicate what the actual job is, because if people start to see their recruitment desk, whether you've been doing it for 6 months or 6 years or 16 years, as a microcosm, your desk is a business. If you were thinking about having a shop, selling pop, selling lemonade, selling Coke or whatever, you wouldn't just sit there and wait for customers to come. You'd go and send flyers out. You'd go into local schools. You'd go and promote your business. That's how we need to start reframing what we actually see as cold calling, which is the business development, it's strategy. And I'm not nuances here. This is true. This is, we have a purpose to it. So I think it's demystifying it. But I also want to say, and this is a bit contrary, and this is maybe because I am older, if you've done this part of the job and you really don't enjoy the strategy side of it and creating new relationships and actually making phone calls and speaking to people, you are in the wrong job. And that's the other point that I make on his post, because life is just too short. This is the job. And if you think it is just sending emails on LinkedIn, and if it is just sending out, getting ChatGPT to write you some content and thinking you're going to make loads of money, it really isn't that. That's like 5% of the job. So
no, I love it.
You need to rethink your career.
Yeah, and I think that's totally valid too. And I think there's going to be other positions within talent acquisition as well. I think as time goes by, that are going to be created with some of even the AI tools that are coming out.
Oh, 100%.
I think like there's going to be, I know like people ops is one that's big, and like people analytics, and that are more looking at your current team and how internal mobility is another one. So I think that there's going to be more opportunities, but at the end of the day, with like, you're always going to need the recruiters that can build new relationships with candidates, that can build new relationships with clients if you're on the agency side, and that enjoy to do that and enjoy networking, getting themselves out there. And I think don't enjoy that.
Humans, connecting humans, because that is I know you have as well on when I look back through some of your archive episodes, that I've been talking to people about AI and the threat and how we manifest it and make the best of it. And the reality is, it is recruiters who are using AI that will outlive and outperform those that aren't doing it. But the fact is that I don't want to go to a person that hasn't got that level of knowledge, expertise, insight, impartiality, intuition, connectivity. That's what I want if I'm going to a recruiter. And that's how recruiters should start thinking about themselves to have longevity, not just to thrive, but actually to even survive. Like you say, I think that's my prediction anyway.
I love it. Well, obviously we've talked a little bit about this, but you create a lot of content. You've been creating a lot of content, and I think you've done a great job with your own personal brand and the business's brand as well. And there's not a lot of people I know that are in the recruitment space that I think have just been as consistent as you have, and like you very authentic brand, like a lot like yours truly. But I think what's interesting is we're starting to see some changes on LinkedIn, and I don't know whether you've seen this. I'm going to share my screen again. They're trying something new right now. So here it is.
I was going to say, I'm having a little game with myself to see if I can guess what it is, but I'm going to let you show me the screen, and then I'll know whether I'm right or not.
Okay, so this one is, and I've just seen this over the last probably week or so. So I don't know if you're seeing this in your feed, but are you seeing this suggested tab here, or suggested post?
Suggested. I'm seeing reels. I'm seeing the catch up section. Everyone's like, "How do I get rid of catch up? We don't want catch up. We want grow."
Yeah, they are really working hard. This is something I've said for a while with LinkedIn. This suggested is kind of like they're going to be their equivalent of the For You page. So if anyone who's familiar with TikTok has a For You page, Instagram, I think, what do they call it? They have a discover page, right, where you can just discover new content. And I've said for a long time, LinkedIn, if they really want to be taken seriously, they're going to have to show people content that they're interested in. So, but what I've noticed with it is it's really funny, the content they're showing. A lot of it is like really viral posts. So you can see on here, it says suggested. It sent me a piece of content, and then I look down, and it's just a viral post. And then this post is actually, it looks like something about AI or whatever, however they've decided it. But I'm curious, have you seen this in your feed as well?
I have to confess, I don't really sit in my feed all day. I might be very consistent, but that's because I tend to then go and engage specifically with people that I'm targeting. I really do use LinkedIn like that. But I have noticed this literally in the last few days.
Yeah, that's when I think it's popped up.
Oh, is it? Right, okay, I wasn't, because sometimes I'm a little bit slow to the party, Joel, I'll be honest with you. But actually, I quite like it. I mean, obviously, it's using your algorithm. I understand all that. And it's creating this, you're curating a feed that in theory should be much more valuable to you. I have been, and I'm sure there's loads of people that will be the same. Because I'm quite an early adopter. I was probably about 2007, I think I first came on LinkedIn, didn't know what it was for. A bit like Facebook, it's like, what's this nonsense? So I've started adding anybody that I knew. So I know at some point I need to go back through it. I'm probably at about 27,000 connections. So I know at some point I'm going to have to go back and slay everybody that's not in recruitment. But I think personally, I like what LinkedIn's trying to do. And nobody really likes the catch up section. I miss stories. I like it when they try new things. I like it when they try and adapt. I really miss stories. I think stories was brilliant on LinkedIn. That's the only time I've ever posted jobs on LinkedIn, and I used to get ad response from the stories. And now I don't use it because I don't want to post jobs on my feed. I think it's really boring. But on stories, it was great. I would use a TikTok reel and just stick it on stories, and it was fantastic. So, but obviously the feedback was crap, wasn't it? It wasn't, nobody liked it.
I think what the problem with it is like, I actually think they'd probably have more adoption of that now than they did back then, because I still think people aren't necessarily, outside of like recruiters and marketers and salespeople, I don't think a lot of people are viewing LinkedIn as like the content feed. The other change that you mentioned, which I can't show it on here, is on the mobile feed. They have added a video tab. That's those TikTok videos that you were kind of talking about, and it's a similar type of feed. But where I think I'd love to get your thoughts on this, like the video first of all, and then this suggested tab. What would be your advice to recruiters in terms of like developing, business using the platform?
I think this is where you mentioned personal brand before, that there are still far too few people that recognize how powerful having a personal brand is. Leaders are still too scared to allow their recruiters to actually develop their own personal brand in case they might share something political or divisive and it goes against their company values, for example. We've hired the wrong person, but anyway. And I think until you actually establish how important and vital and business critical it is to actually invest in a personal brand, there's no point suggesting, yes, you need to do video. Yes, you need to go and do TikTok. There's just no point, because actually, unless you see the holistic view of what that will do for your personal brand, not just on LinkedIn. I mean, look at you on TikTok, for example, but actually you can create a revenue stream which becomes inbound through having that whole mindset. And so for me, I see people that, they try, I mean, there's things like, I don't know if you do have it over there, but the Recruiter line, they've gone viral, they're massive and they're hilarious, and are actually meant to be coming on my podcast. I don't know if they're going to wear a GIMP mask or something, because obviously they're anonymous. And I'm like, which mask are you wearing? I just hope they do actually make it on. It's the third time they've rearranged me. I'm like, you're not letting me down this time.
They're not. They're trying to keep that the anonymous feel to it.
I know, but I'm fine with that. They can use a voice synthesizer. I don't care, as long as they come on. But the point is, they share a lot of video stuff, and they've got like tens of thousands of followers within a year. It's incredible. So I think if any recruiter underestimates the value of sharing video content, because, can I go back to a previous point? Gen Z, I remembered, Gen Z consumes video. That's all they do. They live on TikTok. They don't want to click on a word ad. They don't want to click on copy.
Yeah.
I mean, they might do, but they're more likely to engage, and it has to be 2 seconds, a 2-second hook on a video. And if they're not, they're just going to scroll past. So for me,
look, I completely agree with you. They're on there, but it's not just Gen Z. But when I do my analytics on TikTok, most of my audience is, I think 50% of my audience is 35 and above. And then 10% of my audience is 55. Yeah, look, I love it.
That's so cool. I'm in your first bracket, love. I don't know if you know, I'd be in that one now. You need to set up a new bracket for me. But that's really interesting. Well, there you go. I was being massively assumptive, and I shouldn't have done, actually. I'm very sorry for doing that.
No,
it's really important for people to, You see, the thing is, you've got those that, and I'm going to use a very English word here. I don't even know if you use it over that, but people get constipated emotionally about what do I share, what do I put out there? I don't know what video content I need to share, or the company don't pay for it, and you're just like, just think about creating a value proposition on your own brand and doing so by engaging with video content. What are you sharing here? I should have put my very focus on. You should have warned me, Joel.
It's good. So this is because there's people who are listening too. So what I'm sharing right now is I'm showing actually my total followers on TikTok. And to anyone who has ever wondered what it looks like and what the analytics look like, you can see here it actually breaks it down by age. And so I have 40% of my audience is 25 to 34. 7% of my audience is 18 to 24. And look at this, 32%. So a third of my audience is 35 to 44. 16% is 45 to 54, and 5% are over 55. So I was maybe wrong there, but 32 plus 16 is 48 plus 5. So half of my audience is over 35. And then you kind of get other activity as well in terms of like where they're located. So most of my audience is in the US, and it breaks it down by city. But this is a huge thing for just anybody. Like if you're looking to reach people in general, sure, this is TikTok too, and I think on Instagram it's pretty similar as well. But I think it always does surprise people, and this is why I think LinkedIn is going, oh, people over 35 also consume video. Maybe we should think about it. I'm like, yeah, what I'd love to see is LinkedIn with like a really cool suggested feed for like the things that we're interested in business. So I could maybe go, I want some of the best sales content. I want some of the best finance content. I want some of the best recruitment content. And it could like have like a For You page with those different topics. That's what I think would be amazing.
I totally agree with you and this is why it's interesting. I think people genuinely do think I sit on LinkedIn all day, because I know I come up high on the feed. My SEO on LinkedIn is unbelievable. And that's because I'm consistent. You use that word. That is literally it. Consistent. Yeah. And I just share what's in my head, to be honest with you. But I think, joking aside, I don't actually spend probably more than an hour a day on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to waste my life just scrolling. So I'm very, very strategic in how I use LinkedIn, which is how I've created an inbound business, and also because I've been doing this a long time. But I think if that is the way that LinkedIn's going, hallelujah. Thank you for catching up to Instagram, because I love, and I don't get rid of Instagram. Facebook, I mean, I don't even know why I'm on there, but memories maybe. I like looking at pictures of the kids.
Reels.
Yeah, Reels. And I have got 1,000 friends on there, and 999 of them are recruiters. So it's kind of like I've actually got a little audience over there. But yeah, Reels. And I think that LinkedIn, it's about time they caught up, because otherwise it was kind of going down the old dinosaur route, I think. So we'll see what the future holds. Can I ask you a question? I know go ahead. I have to ask you a question, because I'm obviously going to be sharing it as well. And I get asked all the time, and I'm probably, because I'm in that horrible demographic of over 50, but anyway, it's fine. It's a pleasure and a privilege. What would you say somebody like me, who is a bit, maybe a bit like to actually consume the videos, but maybe I'm a bit scared to do it. So what advice do you give people to just make a start on TikTok?
Yeah, I mean, my big thing is you just have to start with, I think with video content, you just have to start. And as hard as that is to kind of, get people, well, then how do I start? And I'm like, okay, well, first thing you could do before starting is maybe consume some of the content. So find some people like myself, or, find people who are creating a lot of video content, see what they're saying, see what they're doing, and then start to do similar things. And then I think in terms of getting good on video, I mean, I just did a webinar on this recently. The only way that you can get good is by doing it. And it's the same. If you want to be a good recruiter, then you start recruiting. Because it's like you could have 2 months of the best recruitment training. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter until you pick up the phone and you got to just make a phone call, because you learn so much by just doing. Same thing with podcasting. When you first started podcasting, you probably weren't a great interviewer. It probably wasn't that engaging. And over time, you got better. And it's the same with this stuff. And then I just think, you kind of just have to start and then kind of figure out what do people enjoy, what are people engaging with, and then use that as a potential for like what direction you go into. What are people responding to? And So, and I just think in general, like you said it so well. I mean, you said with Gen Z are definitely more, I think, consumers of this type of content without a doubt. And so again, my mind goes to, am I future-proofing what I'm doing by learning this skill? And you want to talk about being able to future-proof your career, especially in recruitment, learn how to do video, because I guarantee you, if you do and you get good at it in the future, as job ads and programmatic marketing and all this other stuff gets harder and harder and harder, video content's going to be a big thing. And so I think future-proof. Well, I want to get your tip on this, and this is a little bit more for job seekers here, but I'm going to play a video. Okay. Let me
sure.
And obviously, a lot of recruiters are job seekers right now, unfortunately. So
they are. And even if they're not, you should think about it, because it makes you much more candidate.
Well, this is, I don't know if you know this lovely lady here. This is Madeline on the right, self-made millennial, great content creator on LinkedIn and TikTok. And she's doing this interesting series where she's actually asking HR and hiring managers about follow-up on multiple interviews. And I did a post recently giving job seekers tips. And this was one of the areas that came up that people were like, oh, should we do this? Shouldn't we? So I'm going to play this, and I'd love to get your take on this too.
Sure.
Let me play this.
Promote or demote?
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Following up multiple times after a job interview.
I'm going to say 50-50. I think once, maybe twice, if you've missed anything, you want to highlight it, go for it. If you don't hear from them in 3 weeks, hey, have you made a decision yet? Beyond that, demote. Demote. It's important to give them time to be able to review resumes or go through interviews. One follow-up is okay, but if you're told we'll get back to you within a couple of days, respect that time to get back to you.
I would say demote. We should be very responsive to the candidate, and if we are going to move forward with them, we should let them know in a timely manner. And if we are not, we should also send them a response saying, hey, we decided to move in a different direction.
Demote. My goal is to make a very quick hiring decision. I'm going to let them know whether they're with the job or not. I think the appropriate is one follow-up within a week of when I said. I'll give them an update and then let me do my work and I'll contact.
Promote. If the candidate's reaching out, probably because the hiring manager needs to clean up their interview process. Candidate, get your answers so you know where to move on from there, where to develop your career.
Promote or demote?
All right. So we had an episode of Promote and Demote, and that is from Self-Made Millennial on TikTok. So go check that page out. But Lysha, curious in your thoughts here, following up with hiring managers, what's your advice that you give to people right now?
So this is to job seekers. So they've applied for a job. I think it's having a balance of showing that you are proactive and that you are interested and keen, but being, to use the word I think your interview uses, to be respectful and mindful of the process. So I think it's without being persistent, but without being a pest. So I think it's reading the situation. And I think an example there was, we'll get back to you within 48 hours. So leave it 48 hours. And if you haven't had a response, I think it's fair then to expect that they'll acknowledge it. And it might be they've had, extra candidates in the process. Maybe somebody's been out of the office, but it's showing that you're respectful, and it's how you communicate that. And I think so often when decision makers are, taking in these sorts of signals, it can actually put people off if you're over enthusiastic or over pasty. But at the same time, I do think decision makers also need to take some responsibility for how they communicate that. And I think one of the interviewees just, mentioned there that, I think it's very attractive when people do follow up after an interview. And I've often encouraged more junior job seekers to send a polite email. Thank you for your time. I really appreciated your time today. I actually forgot to say this, in feedback, they've realized I forgot to say something. I can't wait to hear from you. If you need any more information. I think sometimes old-fashioned techniques like that are really nice, but sometimes you just got to read the room. But I think having been that pesty candidate myself when I was job, there's only been one time, and I was, it was actually when I got into recruitment, and this is contradicting everything I've just said. I got the job. Oh my God! I look back now and think it was an assessment day. I don't know if you do assessment days over there. So I was working in FMCG, working for Britvic soft drinks. I don't know if you have that over there, Pepsi, 7-Up, Tango, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was desperate to get into recruitment. I'd done this opening and I knew I'd smashed it. And they said, we'll get back to you, I don't know, tomorrow. And then the next morning, literally, I think I rang every hour on the hour. I got the job.
Wow.
I got
Well,
the job. But
well, there you go.
This was the 90s. This was the 90s. And I think that it was that kind of the whole culture in the 90s was very much Wall Street. Come on, get on the phone, get on the phone.
Yeah.
But I think if someone did that to me, I'd think, oh my God, I'm calling the police, stalker kind of thing. So I think it's how you communicate. But I also think that, there but for the grace of God. And I think that the whole interview process, I think one of your interviewees said that, or I think he said promote, it's having that humanity. People, you don't know when you're going to be a job seeker again as a hiring manager. You know, you and I both know, Joel, that lots of leaders have been on the job market unintentionally. Let's just make that clear in the last 24 months. And I think sometimes it's having that sense of humanity and thinking, well, yes, we have got all the CVs to review, but it will literally take me a couple of minutes just to type a message back. And it's just having that, thinking all the time about your EVP, thinking all the time about that person is going to go in, even if they're not successful, the way you've made that person feel in that interview process, they will never forget it. And you never know when you might come across them again. And I learned that the hard way in the recession of 2008, 2009, when the financial crash happened. I actually did some coaching with out of work executives. I did it all through the Department for Work and Pensions in the UK. It was an amazing 6 months. I mean, basically, I was screwed. Rec to Rec was screwed. Nobody was hiring recruiters. So I had to do something for my family to put food on the table. And I was very lucky to get on this project. And I would interview in the job centres these out of work executives. And one guy was like, I take on board now. He was a finance director and he'd worked for the same company for 20 years. And he said, I get it now. I get now why the recruiters were persistent with me, because that's how I now feel. And I know he will have changed how he behaves with every future job seeker that comes to him, because he knew how it felt to be aired, ghosted, whatever you want to say. So I think there is no, like with anything, there's no one answer for anything. You've got to read each individual situation. But to job seekers, don't give up. I truly believe there's a job for everybody out there. And I think if you make yourself attractive, go seek a recruiter to help you, or seek somebody, a coach, to look and audit how you're presenting yourself online, offline, interview skills. Don't underestimate the value of somebody, giving you that external audit, and take on that feedback. And sometimes I do just think the universe just moves how it's meant to move for you, but I know that doesn't pay the mortgage. So humanity.
Yeah,
everybody.
No, it's huge. I think look, right now candidate experience is low, and this is actually an area that I think AI can help a lot.
I agree.
And I just think
I see your post about it, and I totally agree.
But also, I think readjusting, from a hiring manager's perspective or a recruiter perspective as well, just readjusting some of the things that we look at as good metrics. A big one is like how many people are applying to jobs. Like, as agency, like you get all the time, right? Like, oh, I want to see more qualified candidates in the pipeline, or more this. And it's just like more. And it's kind of like now produced a really difficult situation, because it is kind of a numbers game for candidates. Like I'm having to tell them more and more, like, you do have to apply to more jobs than you think, because everybody is applying to more jobs. So they have to be more, but they have to be quality as well. So you got to balance the two. You can't just apply for random jobs. But it's also like as internal hiring leaders, if you're not actually in recruitment, so you're a hiring manager that's recruiting as part of your job, you like, putting a job posting out and getting 1,000 applicants doesn't mean anything. It's like, what is the quality of those people who have applied? And that's what the metric we need to really be focusing on. That being said, I think AI is, maybe a chat bot that can like help candidates and give them updates along the way. And the hiring managers are just saying, yes, still in progress. That way a candidate could type in and go, hey, am I still in the running? Yes, you are. We haven't had a decision made. Something like that could help out massively.
100% agree with you. That's where, for me, AI is going to take out that level of, people being ignored. It just reminds me a little bit. I don't know if I know you're very happily married, but your audience will appreciate this. When you go on online dating app, and you could literally, there's some horrendous ones like that, Plenty of Fish and Tinder and stuff like that, where you could literally the equivalent of what you've just said, apply for 1,000 jobs or have 1,000 applicants, or you get there and it's horrible. It's actually, you think it's nice. It's not. It's like, oh my God, I just don't want any of them. But then you go on something like a Bumble, which is actually how I met my beautiful boyfriend 5 years ago. And I know loads of people who've had success in it. And I think that the way that they've attuned it, which is a bit like going to a specialist recruiter, and you follow me here, I think we can learn a lot from that sort of experience. And I don't know whether dating apps learned from recruitment or whichever way around you want to look at it. But I think people should be more discerning. But I think using AI to improve the candidate experience, for me, is one of the best things that it can do for our industry and for the human race anyway. But I think very often I see this, and I know you talk about this a lot because I obviously follow your content about job seekers and, people that have been out of work now for a long time, which must be, I can't even imagine how scary that must feel. But you mustn't panic by, you must think about what can I do to elevate my experience amongst other people. And I do genuinely think a lot of people they underestimate the value of actually auditing what they look like, how they're presenting themselves, not presenting as weary. I see that a lot. If I ever interview a candidate that's had, a dozen interviews, I almost have to tell them just to take a break. Just, I know you need a job, but take a break for a few days because it's so demoralizing and it takes all your mental energy. And actually, very often they'll literally come back refreshed, and we can go and we'll go fast and hard. I've just realised I'm carrying on with the dating analogy there. Sorry, John.
It's true though.
It's
so true. It is.
The whole analogy about marathons and all this. It's like, no, that's nonsense. It should be. I am here to. For me, my purpose, what's always driven me as a recruiter, and I've been a rector since 2001. I've been doing it a really long time. Is to make the recruitment process as enjoyable as possible for my customers. So that's both the clients and the candidates and advocates. I don't place everybody. So I like to think that whoever I deal with comes through the process and is so impressed, blow my own trumpet, that they will go out and advocate for me, which is how I've created an inbound business, right? But I think we often, we never think about the word joy when we're talking about recruitment. How often does anyone ever go, recruitment, joy? Never. And for me, that's actually what's kept me in the industry for a quarter of a century, because it's joy to get to know humans and it's joy to put someone through an interview process. It's stressful, it's anxiety and it's all those things, but that's your comfort zone. And I think if we just shift the mindset of how, being a job seeker is exciting, it's daunting, yes, but you're pushing yourself out your comfort zone. If you are redundant and you've been out of work for a while, think about the things that make you joyful. Think about where you can bring joy. And I think focusing on that one little tiny word might just change your mindset. Even if just one person listening goes, right, I'm going to try joy now. I'm just going to try and focus on joy.
Yeah.
Might just spread a little sprinkle of sunshine. Who knows?
No, we had James Hudson on this show, who, for anyone who follows James online, he was former VP of talent at Nike and Levi's, and recently just put out a ton of really good content on LinkedIn for job seekers. He's got an Open to Work podcast as well. And he had a real big emphasis on like gratitude and being just grateful, which is tough, right? Because when you're in a tough situation, it is hard to be grateful. But I think in that same token, like finding joy, and thinking about things in a positive way, and like even like how can I add value to people throughout this process? And I think that those are the types of things that I think you have to have. Otherwise, it's easy to get bitter in those situations, easy to get annoyed and mad and all those things. Yeah. But from an interview perspective, like you said, people read that on the other end, and I think taking a break is huge. Being able to just kind of refocus and recenter is huge as well. And I get a lot of people when I meet with people, because I do some one-on-one sessions, plug for the one-on-one session. But when I meet with people, one of the first things that we do is I'm just like, tell me about like, your situation and the job search. And then it's like, well, tell me what you're looking for. And I always just ask those two questions, because sometimes it's just a case of, all right, you just need to apply to more jobs. Sometimes though, it's also like, you don't even know what you're looking for. And so that second part is just as important as first. Like, you've got to be really clear on what you're looking for and why, because everything stems from that. It's like the jobs you apply to are going to be impacted by that, and then your resume is going to be impacted. And a lot of people, it's like they're not thinking even about that. And I'm like, well, if you don't know what you're looking for, how are you going to?
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm wobbling my head here. Well, I go one step back, and you probably do as well. But I know for fan purposes, you're not going to go through your entire coaching strategy here. But I go back one step when I interview anybody, which is, what don't you want?
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's an awesome question. And most people, I would say at least 80% of people go, wow, I've never been asked that before. And I'm like, well, I want to know what you don't want. Because that's
great.
That. Guess what? I'm
going to figure out what you want.
What you want.
Yeah.
Figure out. And because if you actually said to me, what do you want? I'll go, well, I definitely don't want this. And it's like, hang on, no, I'm not asked you that. So start on that. If you start, what don't I want? And you'll be surprised, your list of don'ts will always outnumber your do's.
Wow.
You will get it right. And maybe, just blow my own trumpet here, but my placement ratio is 1 in 1.4. So it works. So basically, I'm saving the time of people. But I do just want to, can I just go back very quickly to gratitude?
Of course.
Because I think, people haven't clicked on, I guess it is well-being. We're talking about, general human beings here. But I think that I saw something it might have been on TikTok, literally the last couple of days, where someone talks about gratitude being the window to removing fear. And I think it must be really fucking scary to be a job seeker right now, anywhere actually, UK and America, because who knows, we've both got elections looming. Who knows? It's like double-edged sword. I don't know how you're all feeling, but it's like, which way do we go here? We don't want barrage, that's for sure. So it's, there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of uncertainty. And the only way to manage that level of external fear, but then internalized fear of, I've been out of work now for 3 weeks, 3 months, however long, is to focus on gratitude. And people might think, happy, clappy, hippie. It's not. Because gratitude is creating a whole cascade effect in your mind of how you experience joy, contentment, happiness in each small little action that you take, which might be, I had a great interview today. I didn't get the job, but you know what? I got some really nice feedback. And the feedback was this. And now also, just being really blunt, if I was interviewing 2 candidates and they had equal experience for the job, and one made me as an interviewer feel joy, happiness, maybe even made me laugh and joke in the interview, and the other one was sat there very serious, maybe a little bit more experienced. Guess what? Which one I'd offered the job to? Yeah.
Well, it goes back to, it's like the adding the value, right? Like
the value, yeah.
You can add value through the interview process. It's why I'm also really big on, networking, and people are networking. Well, that's confusing. I'm like, one thing that you can do always, just in general, is being a big introducer of people, and like introducing people in your network and paying attention to people that and helping them. So if someone in your network is open to work but of opportunities, it's like, make some of those introductions, because that's just adding value. And the more value you add to people, the harder it is to face situations where no one is willing to, give you value, which in the moment when you need a job, a lot of times that is a job or a job opportunity. They really trust you. And if you've been somebody who within your network has just been selfless, and you've given value to people, right? You've created good experiences for them. Then when you're on the job search, you have people to call on. And even with sales, I was talking to a recruiter the other day who I've known for years, and you just boil it down to like, how many people, if you look through in your phone book, can you call and ask him for a favor, or ask him for some business, or ask him for an introduction, or ask him for this? How many people do you honestly have in your network that would be willing to do that? And if your answer is like, don't really know, then it means, well, you have a job. For some of you who have jobs already, you need to be just thinking about that network. I've also, the last thing is just don't. The worst thing you can do right now is judge people who are on the job market. And I've been doing more content around this, because the job market is brutal out there. I don't think people realize. And I think somebody's like, well, whatever, just go get a job at, Home Depot or Lowe's or McDonald's. And it's like, people know that they can go get a job at one of these places. But if you've been a 20-year marketing executive, it's not helpful feedback.
No, it's not.
start over, just go to McDonald's and get a cashier job. And again, nothing wrong with that. And if that's, if you need to do that, but people know that you don't need to make.
I know you don't need to. You don't. Yeah, but people just worldwide need to stop being judgy anyway, Joel. Don't they? Let's be honest.
Well, just support people.
It's brutal. Can I use a word? I don't know if it's a bit of a cheesy UK word, but we use the word signpost. So if you can't actually physically make somebody a job offer yourself or place them as a recruiter, the very least you can do as a human being, it takes literally a minute. I often just do it on a voice note now because I do get a lot in my LinkedIn inbox, and I'm sure you do. And I'm like, I don't want to do a copy and paste. I'll literally voice note and say, thank you so much for messaging me. I'm really sorry, I don't have any roles at all in internal right now, but I think you should go and speak to this person because they might be hiring. It takes 10 seconds? I've done that, right? I mean, I've done that all my career, right? And I do believe in karma. And I genuinely think that every recruiter has it in their power to help somebody today, anybody today. It could be, a graduate who's desperate to try and, make themselves sound more credible. It could be somebody who's been out of work, like say for 20, I don't know, been 20 years in one job and they're like, what do I do next? There's lots of careers that are going to reach the end of their shelf life because of AI. So there's lots of people that are probably panicking even now in a job going, what happens in 2 years, 3 years, my job's going to be replaced. So we can all do more to signpost more people and connect more people. And we don't need to charge for that. We can do that for free because you know what? They will remember us. And it does come back as karma to the recruiter as well. So I just think we just need to all stop being judgy because you just never know. You never know when you're going to be in that position yourself. How can you judge somebody else? I mean, the whole, should they have a green banner on LinkedIn? Of course they bloody should. Flipping air.
I'm a big fan of you do lots of different things and you test what works and anything that's not working for you, then don't do it. And again, I think you said it. It's like there's a lot of depends out there of like, what should you do? Well, it is a lot of it's going to depend. But we're up at time already, so we're already a little bit over time. 52 minutes. So for everyone who has listened up to this point, we appreciate it so much. Lysha, where can people find out about you? Where's the best place for people to connect? I've got my guesses, but why don't you let us know?
Well, let me tell you, it's not on Tinder or Plenty of Fish. It's
Bumble.
On. Bumble, not anymore. Don't tell Marcus. I got lucky. I got very lucky. Swipe right once. That was it. No, on a serious note, I am on LinkedIn where you'll find myself, my personal brand, Lysha Holmes, my business Key, which is QUI, Qui Recruitment, and my podcast. We do have a community page, which is the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. You'll find me on all the main podcast channels, Spotify, Apple, etc. And you can obviously follow and subscribe. We actually release a new episode every single Wednesday. And we are going to be launching season 5 in September 2024. And we have guests from all across the globe, not just recruitment leaders, actually. We actually do invite people from industry as well, and it's always really insightful. I am on Instagram, but I do share recruitment stuff on there, but it tends to be food and fitness. And I'm dabbling with TikTok. I'm taking advantage of the amazing insights that Joel Aldridge has given me. But no, in all seriousness, I am trying and testing things. And actually, WhatsApp. You can probably find me on WhatsApp. I'm a WhatsApp girl. Like the little 60-second video messages. I'm really annoying because I send them all the time to people. And I know it takes up loads of data, but it's just brilliant. It's brilliant for dropping. If somebody's in an office and I need to just get them a message. You've got an interview at 2:00 tomorrow. Give me a call as soon as you can. Brilliant.
I love it. And
I'm happy to connect to any recruiter. I love talking about all things recruitment, obviously. But I also talk a lot around, I'm an exec coach, but I'm very prominent. We've not talked about it, we've run out of time, but I'm sober. So I've been sober for 7 years. And I'm a solo parent. So shout out to all the parents, especially the solo and single ones. We are the backbone of industry. But I've loved every second. To be honest with you, I can't believe the time.
I know. It always flies
really
by.
Quick.
Well, look, guys, I would highly encourage you, particularly if you're in recruitment, go connect with Lysha. She always puts out really good content and just authentic. And that's probably one of the reasons that we have connected. You're not going to find her just posting like random, but maybe you do motivational Monday, but it doesn't, you get what I'm saying. Just very authentic content.
I just say it as it is. I'm a northern Manchester lass.
That's
And
what
we
you
just
get.
say it as it is, Joel.
I love it. I love it. Well, definitely go check out the podcast. Go check out the page as well. And if you're interested in connecting with myself or Lysha, just be patient with us. We get a lot of people requesting connections, and for anyone who is listening after the recording as well, if you want to connect with me or you got questions, please just send me a DM and I will try and get back to you. And we will have another guest next Wednesday. It sounds like Wednesday is the day to drop podcast because this is when this podcast will drop. So we'll have a guest for you guys next week. And if you're interested in getting involved in the podcast, you can go to www.therealistrecruiter.com. Real simple. You can sign up for the podcast newsletter that comes out every week, gives you a recap of everything so you don't miss anything. And again, thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you guys next week. Thanks again, Lysha. It was great having you on, and hopefully we'll talk soon too.
Take care. See you all soon. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.